Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of the Outer Realm. Sorry, I'm being serenaded by a cricket.
It's our third host.
Never freaking ends in this house. A cricket of all things. So I have a little co-host in the house tonight, just in case anyone asks. But anyway, welcome to the Outer Realm, and we're broadcasting live in United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. So thank you so much, Folgers. We appreciate you and love you so much. Thank you. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, aka Justin Snicker, who is responsible for our intro and outro. So big thank you to him as well. I want to also throw out a thank you to Steve McGinnis, who is the artistic brain behind all of our logos and such. And been a while with him. So thank you, Steve. We appreciate that very much. Tonight, we welcome for the first time Kevin Dermot O'Doherty, and he's going to be discussing his new book called Egyptian Hammadi Secrets, a book loaded with knowledge on Gnosticism, demonology, ET, human genesis, and much more. And I'm thinking I may even have gotten that wrong. I think the book's name is actually Secrets of the Egyptian Nag Hammadi. Look at me go, like totally buggering that one up. Anyhow, it's going to be fascinating. I myself, I've studied Gnosticism for a while, and it's fascinating stuff, to say the least, but it's going to change how you think a little bit. But in order to participate in the show tonight, guys, we've got on YouTube UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, UFO Paranormal Radio, Outer Realm, of course. Then we skip over to Facebook with the Outer Realm, Canada's Most Haunted, UFO Paranormal Radio, and United Public Radio, Joe Montaldo, UFO Undercover, and News on the Flip Side. And I see people are tuning in. Zachman, Nicole, Guiding Echoes, aka Nicole.
So you've got that cricket, and I've got this fan blowing my hair into my lip gloss, and I'm dying. Like, I'm just so annoyed right now.
And Adriana. And yes, I've got the stinking cricket. Hi. Let's play a game. Let's name the cricket. How about that? And I'll start hollering at it somewhere.
Can we stick to tradition?
It will drive me mad.
And look for Tink.
So you went quiet for a minute. I said,
Jiminy, Jiminy, baby, Jiminy.
Jiminy, baby, Jiminy. Oh my God.
I had one on my bedroom window, and my bedroom's got tons of windows, and I'm up on the second story. And I'm like, how the hell did you get up here? And why can't I kill you from inside?
I know. Spazzy the cricket, right? How about Michelle, Spazzy Michelle? Because I'm going to be there pretty darn soon. That cricket keeps going.
It's one bug that if it's anywhere near a window, I'm not so kind as to just leave it be.
There's a thing.
It's like the frogs soon. The frogs.
Oh, yeah.
The toads will be like the same.
Oh, my God.
The same thing right now.
It's funny because I was talking with Bart today. Bart Sharp, guys, you guys will know him. He's been on the show a couple of times, and he says, you know what? He goes, crickets have, apparently have really beautiful spiritual energy. I'm like, yeah, is that right?
They're not playing on my frequency.
Exactly. It's like totally not on my frequency.
It's really playing on my. It plays on my last nerve when they're.
Oh,
I don't mind them.
Ken.
I can. I don't mind them if I'm by the lake or you're camping, you're outside. But when you're inside
you're
your
in
house,
their zone, right?
But it's peaceful when there's a bunch of them and you're outside.
Right.
And that cricket sounds like there's 10 of them, and I know there's only one.
Right.
You know,
No,
you kind of
exactly.
just want to smack the window.
I know. It's like, come on.
Give it a little heart murmur and make it go away.
I'll take crickets over cockroaches. Okay, you win.
Yeah. Well, obviously,
you win.
I'm just saying the sound is.
It's cute and all at first, and then it goes on. It's
If
just like a broken wheel, and it's just like, oh my Lord,
if
please
you're
stop.
camping, it's cute.
That's right. When you're in their zone,
I don't go camping.
It's different when they're in your zone.
Yeah, I don't go camping.
This sucker will go all night. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. So anyway, we have a terrific guest tonight. Maybe we can read part of his bio. I've asked him to chime in another minute or so.
Sure, I will definitely. The full bio is on our Facebook page at The Outer Realm. Please bear with us, as there's been a lot of changes made, and I know people have corrected me on things, and I'm like, yes, I see things after I post them, but I can't edit them.
No.
And I don't want to delete them, because if you've shared it, then it goes missing on your page as well. So forgive me if there's any grammatical errors or spelling errors or some fact that I we all hit send and then go, oh crap, and then you see it, but you can't adjust it because Facebook is different right now.
All those changes, just not so dandy.
No, it's frustrating for me because I post so much on there, and I have to take more time to make sure, because I posted the Starlink and accidentally wrote Tic Tac because that was another video, and someone corrected me, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. I just can't edit it.
Right.
He's like, this is the Starlink. I'm like, yes.
All right.
Okay.
Well, our guest is in the green room.
All right. Okay. I've got that.
The cricket and I are waiting.
Doherty. I hope I'm not butchering your name, Kevin. My gosh, I'm so sorry. Was born in Liverpool, England. He first became interested in the Nag Hammadi codices, NHC, in 1997 following a BBC documentary which featured the origins of the Coptic Church in Egypt. Like many who encounter them, he found the NHC writings almost unfathomable, but felt the need to reveal their strong and relevant messages for modern mankind. Invisibly guided, he embarked on a literary journey to unlock their secrets, and he's here live with us all the way from the UK tonight to tell us about those journeys. Hello, Kevin. I hope I didn't butcher your last name.
No, you didn't. It's Kevin O'Doherty. It's
O'Doherty. I have to say it with the accent. O'Doherty. Okay.
And it doesn't matter. It's great to see you, Michelle, and thanks for having me on.
Thank you for being a trooper.
Yeah, I was going to say you are a trooper for being because it's 2 a.m. your time, so that makes you like Outer Realm champion.
Yeah, unlike your wimpy cohorts there.
We always razz Carl and Hamilton. They started off doing 2 a.m. and went, yeah, do we have other options? I'm like, really?
I'm on better medication than them.
I want some of that.
Yes. So, welcome to the Outer Realm. We're so pleased to have you. Of course, you came very highly recommended, and Carl is a friend. So we're like, yes, of course we want him. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and really get into why this intrigued you so much? It intrigues me a lot.
Yeah.
As well, because I remember, seeing documentaries on this. We probably saw the same one at one point, I'm sure. So I'll let you just take it from there, and we'll jump in as we go along.
Well, my background essentially is in broadcast, mostly television, some radio, and so I've won various awards and things, but not my shelf's a bit empty. I haven't won anything for a while. But one more award and I'll have a menorah. So anyway, so basically, sorry.
I feel like I need a beer, but that's okay.
For you, but yeah, we're fun. You'll notice very round table, relax. We're just gonna have some fun.
Yeah, so I came home. I used to be president of Waterloo Spiritualist Church for many, many years. I've been a spiritualist since I was 18. Not really attached to anything like that anymore. Kind of came away from that. But when I came home from the church one night, there was a BBC documentary on called Everyman, which was on every Sunday night. And I just got intrigued by where they touched on these texts that were found after the war, 1945. They didn't go into it too deeply, but, in that kind of psychic sort of way, you think there's something here. It chimed in some way. And I thought I must study these. And then I was very, that word unfathomable, it's very hard to say.
Right.
But I did find them very difficult to interpret, and I kind of dipped in and out of them. And then in 2012, I've had a number of sort of UFO type encounters. I've been as a spiritualist medium. I've also had communication with what people call ETs or extraterrestrials, and I've had a number of very strong sightings. And but the one in particular that really was a turning point in terms of writing this was that I filmed this. I've never released the footage. I used a broadcast camera. I filmed one of those silver discs in broad daylight it was. And I thought, that looks like a UFO, but what I'll do is I'll film it because I do a lot of paranormal TV stuff and all that. And I thought in one of these shows that I edit, instead of buying footage, I could always use it. But I thought, hang on a minute, this looks a bit real, and I had that sort of feeling to go out and have a look at this proper. And then 2 fighter jets came over and the thing began moving around. It was kind of like they were chasing, and this was directly over my house,
Wow.
And, a friend at the TV studio I was working at, I told him, I use one of the broadcast cameras. I've got some good, it's actually not that it's good, but it's not good, if you know what I mean. It's very difficult to film one of these things, by the way.
Right.
You've got to be locked and loaded and ready to go. I ran upstairs. By the time I come down, the activity was still going on.
Right.
And I said to him, he's very skeptical, and I said, I filmed one of those UFOs, a silver thing, like there was 2 fighter jets chasing it and kept circling around and stuff. And he's totally skeptic. And he said, was that on Saturday? I said, yeah. He said, about 6:30. I said, yeah. And he said, well, strangely enough, he said a fighter jet, 2 fighter jets rather, came over my house. He said, and I haven't seen one of those since there was a display of aeronautics on the River Mersey. And I said, well, they were chasing this thing. So I've got the footage, and I've never reported any of my sightings because I don't want to visit from the Men in Black or whatever. I'm already on the radar as it is anyway. And
right.
we can't really report those things anymore. But anyway, here's the thing, is that I kind of got angry. I thought the government knows about these things. They're in the Nag Hammadi texts, quite clearly delineated in them. So, and I've had, that was the first encounter I'd had since I was a teenager,
Right.
And I thought this was for a reason. And I got the text out and I began reading them again. And almost straight away, a clarity happened. And so the last 10 years now, I've been finalizing 6 of the books. Now, this book that I've published at the moment with Valencia Press is, it's only 2 of the books, but I think they are the progenitors of the library. I think the first book, which is, I think, erroneously called Book on the Origin of the World, is actually the Book of Great Secrets, because it's the major arcana suit of the tarot. And major arcana, as you know, means great secret. And
yes.
I don't know if you've kind of had, like I have, you often come across these legends that there is this lost book of great secrets, which tells you everything that's ever been and where we're going and all sort of stuff. And if only we could find it. And then as I was kind of reading this thing, I thought, I think this is it.
Yeah.
But it's been so badly translated. And why? And I say that with respect because I do stand on the shoulders of the scholars.
Mm-hmm.
It's been very difficult to retranslate and to put into plainer English.
Mm-hmm.
But these texts, they've done it within a Christo-Judaic salvationist sort of framing, if you know what I mean, within their respective institutions. They haven't. So say you've got an egg in in the Nag Hammadi text, well, this is a sacred God divine egg. It's not just an egg on a shelf or on a table. It's got to be, and it's not like that at all. Look, actually, like we are tonight, it's quite relaxed, and it's kind of it's not everything what they say it is. So I began the big turning point. Not only was that, but where I kind of had my Columbo moments, if you like, of like where it all just kind of fitted in, was where I realized
I love that.
Sorry, yeah,
I love it.
Yeah. It was while I was drinking a coffee,
Oh my gosh, I could spend days with you. Yeah.
So, anyway, this I realized that it's not generations, it's creations.
Right.
Now, that might sound like not a very big thing, but when I went into where I'd used all the same sources they'd used, the Coptic and the ancient Greek, and I'm not a scholar, by the way, but you have to, I approached it as a filmmaker where I'm assembling, I'm making sense of what's in front of me, listening to what it says and drawing out the meaning rather than sticking to liturgy and that sort of thing within a frame. But I discovered that word, so like there's a part in the Judas Codex where Jesus says to they're kind of making this observance, kind of breaking the bread sort of ceremony. Jesus appears and he says, they ask him where he's been. Now in the official translation, they say that he says, I have been with the higher generations. And they say, tell us of those higher generations. To which he says, and all you who are of this generation won't see those higher generations. Now, when you substitute it for what it should be, which is creations, he says, let's redo it again. He says, they say, where have you been? He says, I've been with the higher creations. And they say, tell us of those higher creations. And he says, until you can let this go, meaning this ceremony, this is a God you've created for yourself, he says. The ceremony is a construct. And they say, but we're only doing what is right. He says, you are worshiping a God you have made for yourself. Until you can let that go, you won't see the higher creation. This is a creation of your own. It's a very interesting passage. So creation, generation may sound like the same thing. And a scholar may say, it is generation, but it's not. They mean the same thing, but they also have a different meaning. And that was the first sort of cracking the code. I thought, well, and I began to, I felt like, like many people, you think, can I touch these things? Dare I go there? How dare I? And how dare I even rename the book on the origin of the world to the Book of Great Secrets?
Right.
But it's alluded to all the time. And in the text, there's what you call a concordance across all the books, where it references the great secrets all the time. I will reveal to you the great secrets. And that part of the Nag Hammadi, the so-called book on the origin of the world, is the book of great secrets. And it takes you from the beginning of creation right through to how it's going to end and why we're here. And it's quite a long piece, but I've tried as best I can to do a line by line. I've done it line by line retranslation. So you can compare my version with what the scholars come up with. But at the same time, you must also remember that the scholars can't always agree either.
Right.
So what I've done is I've approached it like a filmmaker. I've said, what is this actually saying?
Well, yeah, sorry. How does this, because these were discovered, just so people have an understanding what they are. These were discovered, much like the Dead Sea Scrolls, just in some random place by a farmer,
1945.
45. Okay.
Yeah, way before the internet.
Yeah. And they'll last longer. A
little bit.
Right. So just so people have an understanding. And I mean, I know it's taken forever just to do the Dead Sea Scrolls. They're just starting to decipher some of that. So this stuff must have been relatively intact. They didn't have to go through as much restoration, let's say, as the Dead Sea Scrolls. So it was easier to get it out there. Because if you've been at this for 10 years, I mean...
Well, more. I've actually been at 25 years, but it's only in the last 10 years I've made a decision to start publishing my findings.
Okay. And this is based, primarily on Gnosticism.
Yeah, apparently.
Which I love because, you know, people say, well, what are you? I don't know. I've got to be Gnostic because I'm just a complete nut. I'm a bit of a nutter like that, I think. But I really do believe in the whole goddess energy and everything else. Yeah. And I think when you have an understanding of it, which is what some of the stuff you're going to talk about tonight, because it really is.
It's liberating.
It is. It's everything we know as like angels and demons, like archons. They spoke about archons, and that's really a primary part of all of this, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. They are. Yeah. The second book of Dawn, the other book of Translate is a sister book to it.
Okay.
Which is of the two books.
Right.
It's called the Hypostasis of the Archons, but excuse me. But that's not the word hypostasis doesn't exist within the text, and these are names that the scholars gave to the text because I don't think they fully understood them in terms of psychic and spiritual science. They didn't understand how auras work and astral travel and communication, how spirits and upper, lower, mid entities, and how the whole sort of what you might call the vertically integrated system of planes, if you like, how that sort of works, that layer cake of, apparently. Right. So they didn't understand that, and so they ignore it like the way Buddhists ignore God. There's no such thing. They just completely ignore it. So so within the framing of the second book, it actually tells you within the text what that book's called. And it's the Testament of Norea. Now, Norea was the biological daughter of Adam and Eve. She doesn't figure in the Orthodox versions and the Hebrew and so forth. Right. But she appears in the Nag Hammadi. She's a very powerful woman. And she is the progenitor of the modern human being. Now, Norea, it's a testament, and it's often in the first person. She says, she speaks in the first person. She isn't the author, but nonetheless, it's her account. And it's a very powerful account of a very beautiful account on how she stands up to the archons. And, everything in the text is a bit upside down. So the ark is not necessarily a good thing. Noah is a man who's under the control of the archons. And she burns down the first ark because they want their seed to succeed on the earth instead of Sophia's seed, tells you. So she was born of Adam and Eve as another child to create many human beings, it says, through whom the seed would be progressed. So she then became attractive to the archons, you see, and they came to her and they said, you must give yourself to us. And they wanted, as it says in the text, they wanted to rape her in repugnant ways. And they wanted to progress their seed through her womb. But she stood up to them. Now, she burnt down the first ark. She kind of lost the battle. So Noah was forced to build a second ark. And that is what succeeded and why humanity is an imperfect product, for want of a better way. Basically, the crap survived.
Great. Is this a parallel dimension?
This is very, manipulative and not what you expect from someone born of, Adam and Eve and the first human being. It's just, wow. Okay, I'm listening. This is all new for me. Thank you.
It is very, I get that the text can be heavy. You have to turn everything upside down. But if you follow the text and follow the narrative, it does offer a plausible narrative for your consideration, acceptance, or rejection, of course.
Right.
But I find it speaks to you because as we said earlier on, as you said, Michelle, is that it's a gnosis, it's an inbuilt gnosis. It's not bookish learning. It's not something you get from a seminar. It speaks to you. And I know it doesn't resonate with everyone, but it's a powerful account. Now, she shows how to reject archon intrusion and demonic intrusion, and she tells you how to do it. Because Elalith, which I think could be like a similar name to Lilith, except it's where the I is. It's the E's. It's Elelith.
Interesting.
Comes to her and says, you know, I've been sent by Sophia. Why are you calling up to Sophia? You have the power as a human being to repel these entities. They cannot control you. You have it within yourself. And you are to tell them that you come from the pre-existing God. And they will flee. So there's a section in that hypostasis of the archons where she goes into the first person. She says, you know, I must tell you of how this angel looked. He was covered in light, and he came to me, and this is what he said. And he says, she asks of the archons, if I can just find it here. She asks of the archons, she says, I should have prepared this, shouldn't I? She says, of what are they made? And he says, sorry, I do apologize. Got a little picture here somewhere. In what form do they appear? And I'll read the passage if that's okay. He says, inside infinite worlds, immortal and everlasting spirits live and dwell. The main one is Sophia, Pistis Sophia, and she wished to make something independent of her consort. And what she produced was a celestial thing, meaning made of shadow and matter. Shadow is another word for ether. There is a veil in existence between the world that is above and the worlds that are below. And below that veil, the substance of shadow emerged, and that shadow developed in the matter and was in the void projected apart. And what she had brought into being developed into a creation in the matter, resembling an aborted fetus, a thing of poor quality.
Ah, looks like a gray.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Looks like a gray. Wow.
So there's these now I think that's an interesting description because it refers to this a number of times in the text. That the scholars have translated it as a plastic form. Now, plastic wasn't a word used back then. Artificial is the closest in the Greek, so I substituted it with in my arrogance. But just for clarity, you know, so clearly these things have existed from the beginning. They exist in various forms, and the reptilians are also archons as well. So they, so clearly in that dialogue, she's telling you, Elelith comes down, she's relating to you how these things came into being and how to deal with that intrusion. And we're seeing it in the world now with everything, more so perhaps than ever. But in the text, it tells you that they have constantly interfered with humanity and the course of our lives. And people say, well, why is that? And the reason is, as it says in the text, is that they lack a thing called an immortal spirit, apparently. Right. Apparently, what it says is that they're made of the substance of matter and also of ether, but they are not possessed of an immortal spirit. Now, the document of the Essenes says that it describes ether as a substance that can be immortal, not beyond change or alteration, and is made of the subtlest ether. And when connected with the matter in form of the human body, magically calls down a spirit to incarnate into it. And the archons know this, so they manipulate the soul and the body, and they they don't understand how the spirit animates the body. That's what they can't crack.
If
that makes sense.
And archons feed off of, so this is what, you know, for people who don't realize, archons, demons, in the Catholic or Christian religion, they as we say, demons will feed off the energy of people. Archons have basically always fed off the energy of people. I think it's why we still have wars. It's why we still have so much hardship. This is a manipulation of these dark energies, in this situation, archons, dawn of time, and that's how they survive.
Yeah, because what it tells you in the text is, because they have no spirit in them, they know they will only last as long as this age of matter and ether lasts.
Wow.
They have no dwelling in the spirit. They are super intelligent, kind of ant-like, hive-like in their intelligence, it tells you. They lack any individuality. You can't sit down with an archon and say, what kind of day have you had then? You know,
No.
And they don't write songs, and they don't, gossip, and all the things that we do. That
They're void of emotion.
Yeah, as creative human beings, we've got all the things that they don't have, and they know we're a superior product, apparently. So they have this colossal envy of the human being, because now, by corrupting the human being, they get to they control. I'm just telling you what it says in the text. Okay?
Oh no, absolutely, no. That's
so.
Okay. Yeah.
According to what the Egyptians have written, the late antiquity Egyptians, because they are Egyptian texts, let's be clear about that. They have said that the lower nightmare realm, the planes of the lower astral, if you like, are controlled by the archons, and they have a thing called the demiurge over them, who is the chief archon. And by corrupting the human being, we then, if we adopt their ways or do their works in any way, shape, or form, or act like them, cause loss, harm, or damage to personal property, create victims, if you like, in a bad way. I mean, like, in a serious way, then we can't go back into the pure spirit realm, because they've dimmed our light too much, and we are sent to them if we've done their work, it says. And if you look at Justice Maat in Egyptian mythology, and with the scales, where we get the scales of justice from, it's the same figure in the Nag Hammadi. It alludes to the same idea that you are sent back. You can't go into the high spirit realm if you've been, really bad. And it's not for me to say how bad you need to be or how that works exactly. But essentially, I think a lot of I think it's going to be filled with a lot of politicians, and
so you have to break a few commandments to be there.
I would say so. Yeah.
I might end up there. I'm just saying.
Yes, but you see, the other thing is, that's right. The thing, and the thing is that Sophia tells you that she knows that the human, we're called the little innocent spirits, and she knows that we're going to face challenges. We're going to be predated on by archons, and she's full of forgiveness and love, and understands that some of her little spirits might get lost on the way back. There's salvation, there's eternal progress is open to every human soul, it says. So you can make it back. It's just, there's this reincarnation path. But the thing is that the longer, if the archons can make us bad and do bad things and create wars, loss, harm, damage, and all the terrible things that go on in this world, then they get to incarnate us again. You see, we have to go through their realm, and we get reincarnated to the earth, and the longer they last. But if we all suddenly became very, very good, they'd have no reason to exist here. They wouldn't be able to survive here. And what it says in the text is that simply by being here and being good, they cannot succeed in their work, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So people say, well, what am I supposed to do? It tells you all you're supposed to do is just be good. You don't have to go to church. You don't have to. There's no prayer in
you all just have to behave yourselves. That's right.
Basically, yeah, and be good.
Like I said, I'm going down. Just saying.
Remember, there is eternal progress open to every human soul.
Thank you.
Wow.
So, but it's big. It's epic. It's a kind of how can I put it? It's a different sort of way of looking at things. But it does make sense more than, I think a lot of religions have kind of lost their way, and we don't really understand them. That they hang on liturgy and ceremony, and are steeped in the garments of office and power and institutions, and they've got wars and all kinds of things, that they become unworthy of the spirit, is what the Nag Hammadi tells you.
Right.
And that's why the Gnostics essentially set up as they did, because they saw the growing worldliness of the early church as being, a thing of evil, if you like. And they came away from that, and they went and settled in Egypt, where the texts were found.
Right.
So they were very, very close to God. That God and the Spirit is within yourself. You don't need any intercessor to tell you. And you don't have to be psychic and all those kind of things. You don't have to demonstrate spiritual gifts or anything. You just have to be good and know where you've come from, who created you, and connect with that which created you. And that's what the archons say to tell you.
Lose the ego. We'll just get to a couple of comments before we lose them all. Amelia, can you see this one okay?
Yes, I can. Arduane, and I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. What I found particularly disturbing about Gnosticism, if true, is that the real pre-existing God doesn't care about humanity. We've been brainwashed to think otherwise, and that we are doomed to reincarnate over and over again.
Ooh.
The demiurge, yuck.
Yeah.
Never finished a statement like that with the word yuck, but thank you.
Yeah.
I love it. And Carrie says, live in innocent joy and love like children instead of ego and fear, and they have nothing to feed on.
Right.
That's the same for demonics and malevolent. It's the same kind of thing. Right. Tamara, hi Tamara, says, all humans have faults. Why would the first humans have? Why wouldn't they, is what you were probably trying to say?
Have faults.
Have faults, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I thought because they were born of innocence, like not innocence, because according to the Catholics, Adam and Eve committed a sin, but, depending on what perspective you're using to view it, they really hadn't committed anything, like there weren't any crimes. There wasn't anything. They were just existing. So it's funny how the ego just comes right out from the beginning.
Well, the archons, it's going to sound crazy, I'm just telling you what it says, that they are credited with creating, Sophia created, let's just go back a little bit, right? So you've got the creation of the solar system, right? With the Earth, it's a flat Earth model, so, and it's everything that's seen with the naked eye. You've got the solar system is created, and that's created by the demiurge. And he makes the earth as his footstool, it says. And he creates 7 great archons, and they are the moon, the sun, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, Venus, and Saturn. And he claims credit for this, you see. He creates angel retinues called archons in reptilian and in archon form in terms of like prenates. And they, how can I put it? They flourish. And he says, there is no other God other than me. I'm the one and only God. If any other God exists, show yourself. Sophia and the higher realms, it says, don't like that. So she transforms one of the main spheres called Sabaoth into the sun. And that transforms the solar system. And it transforms the footstool into a bio realm, it says, capable of hosting all manner of organic life. And the archons turn to the demiurge and say, I thought you were the big creator. I thought you were the one and only God. And from that moment on, it says they knew there was a greater force in the universe than themselves. But Sophia, in that transformation, revealed to them the matrix of the human being, it says. The soul matrix and the physical body as a thing of beauty, knowing that they would want to replicate it and copy it.
Okay.
But she manipulated them into doing it, you see, because they are the fashioners and maintainers. They're like elementals of the elemental and the etheric plane. So she manipulated them into making the human beings the vessels into which we, you and I, and your commentators and, everyone listening would incarnate into these. They're called the vessels of light as innocent human spirits to destroy their nest from within like an irresistible nectar.
Right.
Which is what we are to them. And
the picture you showed us, just to back up one quick minute, that is what essentially is an archon.
It's one form, it's a prenate.
One form. That's a gray. So essentially,
and
gray.
Got the reptilian.
Right.
And then you've got them in human form, but you've got them in other forms. But essentially, they're in 3 types. One is the reptilian gray and the reptilian and the grey can appear in physical form. And also in that transformation, by the way, they were banished to live within the earth and within the spheres of the solar system. And they can't breathe our oxygen, basically. So that they cannot dwell alongside us, which is why you'll never see aliens shaking hands with the president on the lawn of the White House. And if you look at ET abduction phenomena, and if you look at all those stories where people board these UFOs or they go down deep into the earth under these caves of them, they say the air is unbreathable. It's like a gas or something. And that I think that ties in with the story, because it was, the earth was transformed. The sun is transformed into a lens, like a light, it says, through which the Zoe or the Eve ray is beamed to the earth to generate life. So basically, it's basically saying, you know, what can live by the light of a flame? Nothing. But by the light of the sun, which has the Eve or sometimes called the Zoe ray in it, it vivifies and gives life to everything. Right. So the transformation of one of the spheres into the sun was very important, but she also in that moment revealed the matrix of the human being, knowing that they would replicate it itself.
It makes so much sense, because we can't land on Mars without proper gear. We can't, we can't flourish or thrive in the moon. It makes complete sense as to why they would have trouble breathing here. That's not even question. Like, you don't even have to question that.
No.
So we're probably considered like the junk planet of the universe.
Yeah, and they are. I've had contact from very early on, and this is why I think that why I'm drawn to do this is because I think it needs to be put within a psychic and spiritual framing, because no one's addressed that at all. You know, there's no one. You need to be a medium or a healer, or like with myself being a church president and from the age of 18 being a spiritualist and immersed in that side of things, you have to have some kind of knowledge, I think, when you come to read these texts, to realize, hang on a minute, this is talking about auras, this is talking about energies, this is talking about, like in that transformation, the archons also dwell as within the earth, but also as entities that prey on human beings in the astral state as well. And they act as barriers and to stop us progressing in many ways. So they, how can I put it? They are like, their envy lies in the fact that they can't do anything. They've got no really ideas. That they are created, it says, as the finished product. Now, you and I, we can change. We can become other things. We within ourselves, we learn and we adapt. Whereas archons are no more intelligent, it says, now than when they were first created. And if you look at Jacques Vallée, was it?
Yeah, Jacques Vallée. Yeah.
Yeah. What does he say in Confrontations? He says, surely they must have learned by now, all they need to know. But
he doesn't think ETs are from space, does he? He thinks they're from here.
Well, from the waters, yeah.
Yeah, and then Nag Hammadi says the same thing, actually. Maybe he's read the text, I don't know, but that they exist within this realm here.
That's right.
And so, these, like the things I've seen, like the silver discs and stuff, they're not... They can't do intergalactic travel because where are the toilets on board, for instance, or whatever.
Those could be ours, It
is a giant toilet if it's coming from here.
Yeah.
You need the big ship somewhere, don't you? Or something. But
like Battlestar Galactica, that kind of the size of a country kind of ship.
That's right, Amelia. But it's within the Earth and within the spheres of the solar system, and that's where they're banished to live in the physical and etheric form. But also, archons can exist just in ether. And now, when you meet, particularly in the astral realm, during the sleep state, say, when you meet them, I'm talking from experience now, what I've found is that it's like an automaton that you're dealing with. You are aware of this hive-like thing going on, a super intelligence, that doesn't understand you and wants to get right inside you. And as it says in the text and in the Garden of Eden part of the Nag Hammadi, they interrogate the soul and they find out how it works. They created, they were tricked into creating the tree within the human being. But Sophia came and she put good things in there. Like we were talking earlier on about pure humanity, pure humans. There was no sin. But the archons, knowing that they wanted to take control, they put in negative traits within the human being of envy, jealousy, covetousness, and also they manipulated the physical body. It tells you from living to 1,000 years to living to just 70 by reducing, it says, by 930 years. At the time of Noria, we were talking about, which with the succeeding human being only lasted 70 years, and that's us now, sort of thing. The model, I would say. Now, by manipulating us that way, we lost that connection, it says. So we found ourselves, how can I put it? They cannot understand how we can be so creative, how we can connect with God, and how that light that they envy brings life to everything. They simply don't understand it, because when you talk to them or try to communicate with them, they aren't interested in you other than to take over you. And in the garden, when they put those negative traits into the human being, into the soul matrix, it says, and into the physical body, they put in drives and a nervous system that is weak and prone to not just addictions, but also to pain. And all these things conspire together to destroy the spirit that incarnates into the vessel. It's called the tripartite human being in the text, the three parts of the body, the soul, and the spirit. So we are not souls and we are not bodies, it says. We have bodies and we have souls, but we are spirits. So, yeah, and it says, so you couldn't say, you couldn't put on a suit and say, I am the suit. You have a suit to wear, but you are not the suit. And it's very clear about that. But the archons don't understand the spiritual part, you see, because they're merely the suit, if you know what I mean. So I know, I hope it's making sense, but
absolutely,
that's how they have access to this world.
Right. Simple, really. It's just like they've got like 7 billion doors that they can just walk through at any point.
Sophie is clever, you see. She's very clever. She's got, it's called a divine mission plan. She's got a plan. And all you've got to do is say where you come from. If you feel intruded upon, now listen, when I was writing this book, I've been a medium for years. I've been to all kinds of some terrible things, hauntings and terrible places, and I've dealt with various things. But the archons, I've never been so under attack as when I was publishing this book.
Really?
And I mean, really, the house going crazy. And that intrusion. And now here's the thing, I've put it in the book, and this is very important. I put a warning in there, because once you start to open up to these things, you attract them, because it says in the text, they want to know. They want to interrogate the soul to see how enlightened you are and if you've learned of anything new. Because they live in constant fear of you waking up to them and discovering them any minute now. Their game would be over, it says. They exist secretly and they try to. So now in the tree, in the Garden of Eden, it's actually flipped on its head. Satan's the good guy. He's actually manipulated by Sophia to be good. They tricked, the archons were tricked into creating the reptile, the reptilian. But Sophia put the Zoe or the Eve ray within him and made him good, so that he would lead the human being away from the demiurge. He said, you must eat of the tree of knowledge and of knowing the difference between right and wrong. Now, when the archon comes back, the chief archon, this is in the Nag Hammadi version of the garden, he cannot find them. Have you ever wondered about that? Because it has a concordance with the Orthodox version. How can God not find someone in the garden? But when you look at the translation, find is different. It means, say, I find, say this is someone's bag, say, and I find it out on the street. Well, I can keep it, or I can use it, or exploit it. It's not mine, but I can use it for one. The only time I get control of it is if the true owner or purchaser or maker of it gives me sovereignty over it and says, you can have that. So that's what find means. I could not find you means I could not take control of you. And it deals with the root. And this is what obsesses the archons and demons and all these things. It's the root-based chakra they enter through, which is between the legs. And that's why people feel that they are being sexually manipulated, or there's something going on there and they don't like it. And it's terrible. I know how bad it can be, especially for young people on the cusp of, become an adult. And it creates all kinds of poltergeist activity. It's all it goes into it in the text, but they are absolutely obsessed with what's between people's legs. Now, when I say that as an entry point, it is, and you find, and if you read the book, it constantly refers to the root. Now, the root chakra, like even in spiritualism, people say it's all the crown and the heart and everything else. But what I've discovered, working on these texts, is just how important the root chakra is. And this is in the story of Elelith as well. Is that you close your root chakra and they cannot have access to it. Now, in the garden, what do Adam and Eve do? They stand under the trees of knowledge and under the tree of knowing the difference between right and wrong. They take leaves from that tree and cover their privy parts. So he could not take possession of them. He could not find them, meaning he couldn't enter them to interrogate the soul. And you could only have known this, he says, you could only have known this if you'd have listened to the reptile. So he was a good guy at the start, you think. Right. And probably still is. I don't know. I mean, I'm
yeah. So reptilians seem to be. It sort of goes back to the Adam and Eve story a little bit. The serpent. But again, when you look at the serpent, which is supposed to represent knowledge and many other things, you sort of look at it. You can look at it two ways. In this case of Gnosticism, are you actually looking at the story of the serpent being the reptile in this case?
Well, the serpent, they are two different things in the text. The serpent is the kundalini, the helix, you say.
That's right.
Yes. And it is the enlightenment, whereas the reptile is the reptilian creature, Satan he is. Right. He's called the wisest of all the beasts. He's called the beast, and he's called the wisest of all the beasts. And this is another mistranslation, because in the Nag Hammadi, wisdom and wise means something completely different in the old days.
Right.
I was quite intrigued to find that it actually means to make, to manufacture, to have wisdom, wizardry, right? It doesn't mean knowledge and like it does modern in the old days. That's why Sophia means wisdom. And this is why the demiurge has wisdom. Because they're able to make things, finagle, if you like, and wisdom meant something different. And it's like wisdom wizardry is what you've got. So he was described in the garden as being the wisest of all the beasts because he was best made.
It's funny how things, you look at symbolism, and things just are in some cases opposite. Like do you think maybe we've just been educated to believe everything it really is the opposite? You're worshiping something, I'm going to say it like, church, because they know the secrets, don't they?
Absolutely. I mean, in the Catholic Church in Rome, the keeper of the church and its institution is called the chief archon.
Are you referring to St. Peter's or to the Vatican?
To the Vatican.
Yeah, that's its own country too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's very convenient.
Yeah, but everything is upside down. What I find with the text is up is down, left is right, backwards is forwards, and sideways is straight ahead.
opus. Yeah.
But I would switch that around. I would say that the text put it in a better order. I think they switch it around. I think we've been looking at everything upside down, because you look at the archons turn everything upside down with their manipulation. So basically, law and order doesn't work. Colleges and schools don't educate, doctors don't heal, the judiciary doesn't give justice, politicians don't represent, soldiers don't protect, and all that sort of thing. It's their influence. And I think that the ancient Egyptians knew very clearly, following on from the time of Christ, very late antiquity, early 1st, 2nd, 3rd century, that this has been the pattern from the beginning. I think from reading the text, you get the idea of what happened to Atlantis, what happened to any civilization. It then becomes manipulated and becomes destroyed. And if you look now, what more archon-like is the world? How it's the pattern is really, it's like they've broken cover now, and they're really going for it. And I would say that world leaders worship this demiurge. They know the truth. They know they're promised by these archons that they will go to the lower nightmare level. We call it nightmare, but they said, we'll give you this world. It's all about, we'll give you the world, and we'll give you a life with us. And I think that the texts tell you that you will dwell with them if you want to. And to many world leaders, who are, vast majority of them are corrupt. Let's just talk about world leaders who are insane, demented entities themselves.
One's running a war right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, they actually have this is where they go, because that's the world they know, and that's what they want. They're incapable of perceiving the higher light. And so this realm of this lower nightmare realm, I think this is with this Bohemian Grove stuff and all these kinds of satanic Baphomet and all that. It's all the same entities, but in one name, if you like.
Right,
they are. Right. It has different names in different cultures. Like Prometheus is Lucifer, is the Greek Lucifer.
Right. That's right.
Pandora is the Greek Eve.
Right.
And so it's one name but in different cultures. So once you realize that, and this is the way they succeed, the archons and devils and demons, if you like, in terms of the manipulation, is that they can come through to people. They can show themselves, particularly through conspicuous technology like UFOs, like offering deals. So, like, I think what's happened now is that we've got a technological deal, whereas in the past it was more of an etheric sort of not magical, but like a kind of sinister sort of magic, if you like, manipulation of people. And that's why you got all those sacrifices and things. So by killing people, you kill yourself, you go to them, and so that's the texts are quite clear that you have a light, and your light shines all the brighter, it says, for the sake of their darkness. But you are not to allow their darkness to affect you in any way, because it will dim your light. And I thought that was quite a good part in the text.
Right. So do you think they have created, just because, we branched off here, we had to have the second arc. Do you think that they have created a simulation for us all?
Yeah. I mean, are we living in a simulation?
Right. That's because I want to know.
I think.
Yeah, you just turned on the ears for all the flat earthers listening right now.
Da, da, da.
There is, well, in terms of the flat earth side of it, it is a flat earth model. It's a very plausible one, because it tells you of the firmament and how it was created and how it moves. Like Kronos as the Greek god of time, for instance. And he, Sophia places him in the sky to create seasons as a calendar, if you like, for what you call it says seasons, minutes, and weeks and months and years, sort of thing. Kronos moves across the sky. I've got a picture of him here. It's not a very good one, but he actually appears in the Major Arcana suit as let me just give you him here as time. Let me just show you. So in this major arcana suit here, you've got the chariots.
Right.
And this is symbolized by Kronos in the story. And he has here the sky disc of Hathor in his hand, which is it appears on the tarot card as a kind of shabby copy of the book on the origin of the world. Sorry, Amelia.
No. Don't apologize to me. I'm sorry. He resembles the king on the Italian playing cards.
Yeah. So this is the chariot in the major arcana suit, but in the Nag Hammadi, the chariot is ridden by Kronos. He brings time. He uses the chariot to draw across the stars and the moon across a carried on chariot, you see. And so that basically that sort of manipulation of time, it's created by sorry, let me just put that together. It's created by what you call flat earth, not a firmament moves across, and that creates, it's like a calendar, celestial skies calendar.
Right.
So the whole sort of it says that the world is very big. It says, although I'm not sure how big it is, it implies that there are vast lands that that the demiurge has terraformed, if you like, across the plane of the earth, and it's seen by a dome, it says, and it stands on four corners, which are in any of the cards in the major card suit, you have the four corners or the four constellations of if I can find a card, like say on the world card, you've got, these are the four corners, if anyone's familiar with the tarot, and it's Aquarius in human forms, and then it's Scorpio in eagle form here, right? Because Scorpio was an eagle back in the day, and Leo in lion forms, and Taurus in calf forms. Now I think that they're the four corners of the earth. It says that they are the four corners that hold up the sky. They are the four constellations that remain fixed to the eye.
No, boy.
Earth signs.
I know.
So it actually has a very interesting. Did you want me to have a go at this for you? Basically, the major arcana, great secret. I've put this together. It's in the book. The tarot is a pale reflection, right? We've got Sophia, I think, there, and I think we've got the Christos Aeon, her male counterpart, in that card. She creates the demiurge who moves across the face of the deep looking for the light, and I think it's represented in the hermit. She calls to him, my child of chaos, come to me, to whom I have birthed. And she wrestles and she struggles with him, and he's often depicted in the tarot as being in her abdomen, and it's strength, and she's struggling a bit with him there. So she makes him a fashioner and maintainer of the physical world. He can make anything out of anything, which is what the archons can do, except, as you can see with the infinity symbol, he has no immortality. They know they only have a limited time. They want to become like us. So she transforms the system, as we said before, by turning one of his spheres into the sun, making the conditions right for the creation of the human being. Normally, the human being here riding the Pegasus horse is sometimes depicted with a scarf, but here it's a banner, and that represents a single helix of Sophia, because you need the two. If you had the male Christos entity with an Aeon, then it would be entwined, you see, like
Right.
But it's a single helix that she brings. And also, having created the sun, she creates the moon to balance the earth. And you've got the two dogs, and the moon drips the blood onto the earth. Now, in this one, I like this tarot deck because it's very closely to the Egyptian model. It's the scarab beetle, and this represents the wars and the blood that drips upon the earth. But the moon is brought, it says, as a balance for seasons and to balance the life of the earth on earth. And if you think about the job of the moon, it's very important, isn't it? And it says the moon and the sun possess a mystery, like bullhorns, which it references as an eclipse. And an eclipse does look like bullhorns, doesn't it, at a certain point?
Yeah, yes, it does. It's true. It's true.
So we're back to this. She then creates the firmament, which she gives over to Kronos. Time, and he draws across the stars, and as we've already discussed, across the celestial heavens. And she further creates what's called the Ogdoad, which is the Milky Way or the galaxy, the high dome. And this is from the waters, and everything, it says the earth is surrounded by waters. And that's why she has the name Pistis. Pistis means waters, as in Piscine, as in Pisces. And she balances the waters. So you've got a system now in place, a solar system.
I am balanced. Kevin says I'm balanced because I'm Pisces.
Great.
So there to everyone who thinks I'm not. I'm just kidding. I have to make light of everything. I find this fascinating and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks. It's not, I know it's a bit heavy, but
no, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, I completely understand. I've studied Gnosticism. So I'm on, I'm trailing along okay.
I'm good.
Yeah, it's all right.
And I work in mediumship, so this is very interesting.
Well, so we've got a system of in place, and then the demiurge who's cast in this card as the fool. This is all the major arcana suits. Claims he's the one and only God, and he's called Saklas the fool. His name changes Saklas in the text, which means foolish God. He thinks he's the controller of everything, and the zero. I haven't gone into the Chaldean numerology on these, but they tie up brilliantly. So she gets really, upset by this, and she uses a finger of light from the sun, a kind of mass coronal ejection, to destroy his the earth, basically, to wipe the archons from it and to cause a celestial upheaval, is what it says. And they are then cast down into Tartarus. They can't dwell on the surface of the earth because she transforms Sabaoth into the sun of the solar system, one of the spheres that we talked about before, becomes the sun. And so that really messes with the archons. They've got nowhere to go. So then the demiurge comes back and he turns everything upside down with his influence in the world, it says, in if you follow the timeline. And because his view of everything is upside down, as we discussed before, he makes everything upside down. Nothing works. But this is how he is. Now, into this realm comes the Wheel of Fortune, which again is surrounded by the four corners of the earth. And the wheel itself is the earth, and attached to it is Yaldabaoth as the lion, and you've got, let me just look there, you've got the serpent stream, and the earth as a wheel, represented by the wheel. Everything is under the control of the gods, but then what is introduced into our world is a thing called chance, fate, and destiny, beyond human control. We're at the behest of that, it would seem. Right. So he introduces this into our realm, and he takes the Adam and Eve. Adam at the start is androgynous, a single human being. He splits the two gender halves in the garden, it says. I know we haven't really discussed that. I'm jumping ahead, but that's basically what he does. The archons split the human. They take the Adam as an androgynous creature, and they take out the womanly part in him and make a womb, and they build up the flesh in the man, meaning, his penis, basically. And so that the two are separate through which, and why they do it is so they can progress their seed through the woman. Sophia doesn't like it. She brings back the waters. She rebalances the system, right? And by doing so, she creates it, which you've got a different version now. If you compare those two, you've got that's the Archon's version, and then having rebalanced the system this way, right? You've got Adam and Eve in the garden with Eros appearing at the center to bring the two gender halves together in union and love and desire, it says, with the tree of knowledge and life. With this, it's got the serpent around it, the single helix, bringing them together, so that they will always seek union and will leave their parents and seek sexual union one with the other. And in love, it says, it's kind of put on the higher side. Then the demiurge comes back and he creates a thing called death on the earth, that he destroys this paradise by making the world of matter corruptible, that nothing lasts forever. So everything we've got falls apart, it decays, and death is no respecter, it says, of institution, race, color, class, creed. Nothing lasts forever. Death is a capital D in the Nag Hammadi book. And following the death is call to judgment. Right, we're almost there. We're getting there. Right,
No. It's okay. It's okay.
It's call to judgment. He fails. Sophia calls the people who have passed to the next realm of life, which is the clarion call, there by which they are raised, where then they face justice, which is justice ma'at in the Egyptian text, or you've got sometimes the sword as a hand, but only those who have not let the darkness of the archons enter into them or haven't imitated their work can pass. So the scales in the Egyptian part is they believe that the soul was in the heart of the human being, and they placed the heart on the scales to measure it against justice ma'at. And if she didn't move, then and she's represented also by the peacock feather. So that shows you just how delicate that balance can be.
That's right.
So Amelia, I might be there with you. I don't know.
No, it's true.
So I'm loving this.
It's a very powerful card, and this is the story on the book on the origin of the world, or as I call it, the book Great Secrets. And at the end, it tells you Sophia. This is represented by in Chaldean numerology 21. Is crowned the crown of the universe, she claims. Now, she's often depicted with a crown, but not in this card, but she is in my book. And she places her seal around her universe, our realm. And again, you've got the four corners of our world. And she puts stamps her authority upon it. And 21 under Chaldean numerology means many trials, tribulations, after which you will succeed in wearing that crown, and no one will ever take it away from you, it says. So that's a thumbnail sketch of the major arcana suit, but it ties up. When I was reading the book on the origin of the world, I thought, well, it's clearly the book of great secrets. It's the major arcana. And Antoine de Gabelin and a guy called Etiella, both in the olden days, back in the Renaissance time, said, that the tarot, major arcana suit of the tarot, must have its origins in ancient Egypt. And I think this is proof now that they were right. They only speculated on it. But so many things are proved in the Nag Hammadi. And this is what annoys me about how scholars and people just dismiss them. When not that they're filled with amazing knowledge if you want to dig deep into them and spend the time, dare I say.
Well, I think if you think about it, we've all been born, we've had belief systems instilled into us, educationally, spiritually, academically, everything. It's these scholars we all come from the same teachings. Worldwide, when you think about it, we're taught the same thing. Religion, as different as it is all pretty much the same, unless you look at Buddhism, which isn't a religion, it's a way of life. I think you can set that aside. So
I would say,
I think this is why academia, why people have so much difficulty with it. It takes a lot. I mean, unless you have a find, like the Hammadi, and you really want to take the time like yourself to study it. I mean, look what they just found. The Hall of Records, isn't it, in Romania? Like they've just found something else now. So what is that going to divulge?
Yeah. And they are scared. They act as gatekeepers because they're like archons. They don't want the human being waking up. It's the same pattern, you see.
It is, if
power is knowledge, and you have... if you realize that there is, an afterlife, and the whole purpose of the construction of life as we see it is based on a fallacy. What we're doing, generally speaking, about people per se, the goal of human life is not to eat at McDonald's and go and watch Hollywood movies.
Sorry, Hamilton.
Yeah, sorry, Hamilton.
I mean,
oops.
Listen,
Kevin was just thinking out loud. No big deal.
I mean, it can be. Look, but at the same time, hang on a minute. Let's
treat your body like the temple that it is. In other words,
very few people do that.
But if you look at how life is played, really, we're in a constant struggle to survive all the time. And in the text, it tells you that the archons, through various stages in our development, have made us have dependencies. They taught us certain things. I don't know if you're familiar with the Watchers in the Book of Enoch,
Yes.
which clearly were archons. I mean, I've referenced that, and William Henry was quite right in his book to point out that connection quite clearly.
I like him.
Yeah, and if you look at the story of the archons, what happens is they come down to Earth, and they cannot handle emotions and free will and choice. They do things to excess. It's a bit like the Gremlins movie where, they eat, drink, smoke, and do everything to excess.
Right, cause havoc.
Yeah, absolutely. Once they're free of, because they don't know how to, they haven't got a thing built in them to say this is right or wrong.
Right.
They have
no filter.
That's right.
Pretty much all of humanity right now. There's very few people that have filters. It's a crazy world. But I just want to ask you this one question. Do you believe, because we mentioned the Vatican earlier, and for those of you that don't know, the Vatican libraries, their vaults go on for kilometers upon kilometers. It's like, I would believe it's the underground of the entire Vatican city.
Yeah.
And they have their own laws. If you're not aware of that, police cannot enter from Rome into the Vatican, nor can they enter from Switzerland unless they're watching the vaults, where they have their own station. Anyways, do you believe that a lot of these writings that you're discussing, that they would have the first scripts in those vaults?
I think so, yeah. You kind of become aware that what we found in these caves or in the Nile really are, and the thing about the Nag Hammadi library is that it was written on both sides of the folios, the pages, so it was easy to stick together.
Right.
However, Alma, whatever his name is, can never pronounce it, the shepherd who found them, his wife was burning them for about a month or something to get the bread ovens going. So we don't know what we've lost. So there are various things missing from there. They're not complete.
Right.
But
I imagine what's missing.
I agree with what Amelia's saying, that I would say the Vatican has pristine copies.
Mm-hmm.
They've got the originals, and we'll never be allowed in there, and it's nuclear proof, and
right.
So otherwise we would know already, you see.
But maybe they don't want the common person to know. I believe the elite people are well aware of what the real teachings are. We've all been taught something entirely different to worship, which equals a degree of control. But I believe there are certain people in this world who know exactly what the real lay of the land is and how you're supposed to worship, or how, they'll tell you that they have occult knowledge, even in alchemy. Like they have everything that they need to succeed and create their own realities and time travel, or we have portals and power spots all over this planet. It isn't hard if you know they're there. The churches built all of their churches over these power spots, these temples. There are power spots that have been realigned. You have monuments and obelisks, and I know Gail and I chatted about this just yesterday, that were intentionally put into place to reroute all of these energy lines, the proper ones, for things to flow properly. Well, how would they know to do that? Maybe this is what it is. They've got these relations with these archons, who many call demons, and they sound a lot more to me like they're extraterrestrials.
Yeah, they
the Gnostics knew about the star beings. They knew.
I think everyone did back in the day. If you look at the Renaissance paintings, you have the nimbus gloriosity around the head of many people. I think they could probably see that. The mental and emotional aura, which gives indication as to the mental and emotional aura condition of the person. You have the spirit aura, which extends furthest from the body. I've probably got a picture of that somewhere. It's in the book, lots of illustrations. But the the one that extends furthest from the body, and that's how you get an indication if you like or you don't like someone. If they sit too close to you, they invade your space. Enough time on here, but and then you have, but it cuts off beneath the knee and just to the top of the head, which I think is why Chinese people have a saying that dead people have no feet. And sometimes if you see somewhat a spirit through the spirit aura, you don't see the feet, and the top of the head is cut off. I always wondered about that when I was a kid.
That's a good point, because that is true. You don't always see the feet.
No, well, in some cultures will tell you that's because it's dimensionally they're sitting up about 3 feet above our own. So when they do cross and we see them within our dimension, it looks like they're floating. But realistic, you know what I mean? Like it can go sort of either way.
It's rare to see feet. I've only seen it once, and it was not pleasant.
So it's round about there, the big circle, this one.
Yes.
Right.
There's the chakras, there's the nimbus gloriosity there, which is in the paintings.
Right.
And basically that's where the aura is. And then there's the chakras, as I say. And basically they understand how that is made of ether. And I think they have ether technology.
Well, it looks like a drawing from Leonardo da Vinci. It looks like something that he would.
Oh, like this guy right there?
Like something he would draw.
Yeah.
He would draw.
Yeah. Right.
Actually, yeah, that's right. The Petruvian Man, as it's called. Yeah, they. I've actually got a picture of that, but it also fits in with the toroidal, the apple-shaped toroid field, which I think is the apple in the garden, by the way. You know, it enlivens, and it's the pattern of everything, isn't it? But they understand how this works. Now, about 2 days ago, I came home from Avebury in Wiltshire, and I think it's the biggest Neolithic site in all of Europe, I think. I stand to be corrected. If it isn't, it's certainly the second biggest. But it's huge. It's in South England, where all the crop circles appear. And I go regularly. And it's still active, is what I've got to tell you.
Not surprised on that.
Now, the thing is that they built a crossroads through it. You know, in Victorian times, they put a village there and they've broken up the circle. Stones are still there, and they go for, you know, quite some distances, or there are mounds as far as you can see. But here's the point I'm making, is that there's a huge circular trench. I call it a trench. Some call it a ditch. It's about 30, 40 feet deep. It's quite wide, and you can go down into it. Now, here's the thing. I never really get anything from the stones, but I do. When I go down into the ditch, it's like the fluid dynamic flow of water, and it pushes or pulls. And it's not always active when you go, but a lot of the time it is. And this time going back, I'm so annoyed. They've roped it off. And I think they know what's down there. I think they don't want people sensing. You got people, they're all singing to the, I think the stones are just markers, really. I understand about them.
For what's underneath.
Yeah, they are. I would say the energy would still be there without the stones.
Absolutely.
But the stones obviously play a part.
Stone resonates, though. It could be that maybe could be amplifying that,
Massively.
or maybe it's grounding it, you know?
Yeah,
but let's hold. Oh, sorry. We have to hold that thought because we have to do a station and sponsor ID.
Absolutely.
Fired.
Thank you. Yes, we could lose the show entirely.
Yeah. And Kevin gets us booted off. That's great.
Oh my gosh.
We're kidding.
It's okay. No, we're joking. You are listening, excuse me, to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano, coming to you live from the beautiful city of New Orleans on 105.3 FM radio. Joining us tonight is Kevin Dermot O'Doherty. Sorry, Kevin. It's my Italian tongue can't wrap around the O part. If you're listening right now and you're just tuning in, don't worry, because this will soon be on archive, and you can stream or listen to all of our archives and all the ones from the network on the platform you normally use. Simply search United Public Radio and then The Outer Realm. Shout out and thank you to the amazing people at Folgers Coffee. Thank you. for sponsoring our show from day one. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Thank you so much. Also, a huge thank you to Justin Snicker, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, for our intro and outro. He is an award-winning composer and musician. You can find his music on any platform that you usually stream, Amazon and Bandcamp included, and find him on Facebook and Instagram. He is dropping his new album for Halloween, and you can listen to a clip there.
There we go. All right. And just so Hamilton or Carl know, we weren't ditzing you. We love you guys. Whether you want to step till 2 a.m. or not, we'll take you anytime we can get you. Just saying. Okay. Thought I'd put that out there. Anyway.
Hamilton's like a little brother. I have to pick on him.
So now we can continue on where we left off with power spots.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't believe in coincidence. I do believe in synchronicities. And when you see all of these temples, goddess temples, just saying, all over the place, especially throughout Europe, just, older cultures, and it's a lot of goddess worship. It's not coincidence that you have the church that comes in and builds their own structures right smack over top of them to harness that energy. Portals, ley lines, vortices, stargates, maybe.
Yeah.
It's exactly as you described.
And there is a church in the center, almost in the center of the Avebury Circle. So,
shocker.
Yeah, right? I mean, who knew?
Wow. I'm going to have nightmares tonight, seriously.
Yeah, so, could have speculated that it was there.
Yeah, they have. So every time I go, I have an experience. I can't explain it exactly. It's still active. Now, why I say it's still active is because it is, but Stonehenge, I think, is dead. I don't get anything when I'm there. Been going there since.
Really?
Even though, but you can't get very close to it. Do you have to be closer in the center of?
You used to be able to, though.
Yeah, you did.
After the pandemic, they locked everything.
Oh, before that.
Or before that, they locked everything up. It's still locked down.
I know Melissa and Adriana had to. It's almost like you have to almost get a lottery to get close to it, and that was back in 2013.
Yeah,
that was a long time.
It's been closed since the late 90s at some point.
Oh, wow, really? That long ago.
Yeah.
I think it's also, I believe I heard that part of it was vandalism as well.
I don't think so. I think they just make these constructs so that they just say this.
So they can just say it.
But they were still doing archaeological discoveries there, didn't they? Like they found a
Maybe they didn't want anyone around, so they could do it in private.
A place where they buried people.
Yeah, I mean, when you stand in Stonehenge, I've been to fairly close up, as close as they will allow you.
Right.
And when you look around, for as far as you can see mounds. And apparently there are people who are buried, they say, who wanted to be buried within the area of Stonehenge. But as a circuit, as an energy, I don't know what they did to it in post-war when they reconstructed it, but I think they've just done something to it, you say.
They reconstructed it? I didn't know that.
They neutralized it.
Anyone, just go on to Google, look at the reconstruction of Stonehenge, and you've got these cranes and resetting the stones. And
that's going to change things. The stones
absolutely.
So when I
specifically put someplace maybe to act or direct the energy a certain way.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the ancient pictures of it, I'm going back to, say, the times of Thomas Hardy, Tessa de D'Urberville's, that sort of classic English literature which features the stones. And you look at the illustrations from the 1700s and the early 1800s, they're in ruins, but they're very relaxed, and I think they were still alive then, the energies. But the Victorians kind of came along, decided that they would reconstruct everything. And I think they made a colossal error there, because when I first went, I thought, this is 10,000 years old. I was told it was 5,000. I didn't know why I thought that, but it turns out that there was a part of it that was 10,000 years old.
Right.
And I think, when you do psychometry, you have to go to a time there was a time when it wasn't there, then there was a time when it was. And what you do is you go to the time when it first appeared. Right. So that's where you start. So and from that, I just got this impression that there was initially the solid henge as we know, not in the stone form, but as a construction.
Yes.
Was
it was
10,000
wood
years.
Initially, they said.
It was what? Sorry.
Wood.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, wood henge. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was much bigger, and they all have the same path. You see, this kind of path that leads to the center circle, but the site is far bigger than that because it goes for nearly a mile in different directions. But you've got all these things built on top of it, like you've got in Cairo, where half of Cairo is built right up to the Giza Plateau. Right. So jumping back to Avebury, you've also got just across the way from Avebury, you've got a thing called Silbury Hill, which is a huge hill. It must be about 90 feet tall, maybe 100 feet tall. It's the biggest mound in Europe. It's huge, built in the ancient times. And when I first went there, I just went back to that time and I saw this lightning bolt come down and they built the hill there. And it's like that. I thought this is a pyramid, even though it's a cone. I thought this is a pyramid. And I've since been proved right because people are now calling it an English pyramid because it's got the center, it's got the pit, goes right down, taps into the water, but they blocked that off as well to stop you going up it, you see. And this annoys me because, like with Avebury, they're saying it's for to stop erosion. But what I've got to say to you is that you seldom if ever see people going up Silbury Hill. It's too big for a start, and you seldom if ever see anyone down in the trench at Avebury. And I think this is an agenda, especially with the way the world's going now, to slowly close these sites off. They don't want people waking up. It's like the archons, they're scared of anyone becoming enlightened.
Keep you sleeping and dumbed up.
And in their control, yeah. And I see a creeping... So I was very upset by that, and I still am, you know. I ignored it, of course. I ignore all the ropes, and I go where the hell I like. They don't own it. No one owns me. They don't tell me where I go. Did you build it? No, you didn't. It was built, you know, in antiquity or in early ancient times, maybe going back to the Bronze Age, Stone Age. You know, when was it built? It certainly wasn't built by you, mate. You know, so you know. So when they're like this, you can't go up there. Well, you know, it doesn't work with me. You know, I just don't bother. I just completely ignore them. Right. But those sites are very active. There's a lot goes on in Avebury. It's a very special site, the whole complex, as it were. But there is technology to do this. Come back to your point earlier on, and I think they know this technology. I interviewed. I worked with a senior police analyst years ago. I did I won an award for the film for television. It was on the 7/7 bombings in London back in 2005. And I worked with a senior police analyst who came out of the cabal, if you like. And he was asked to do the terror threat assessment to the British people, you know, the likelihood of a bombing sort of thing. And he came up, he was a statistician. And he decided that the statistics showed that it was an inside job. I'm just saying what his conclusion was. So he got sacked, but because he was a Christian, he wouldn't go against it, you see. But he'd been into the cabal. And what he said to me was, he said, Kevin, what I've got to tell you is what is at the top of the pyramid isn't human.
Because who's going to check?
So, okay, could be giants. Or are we talking, because I mean, a lot of people sadly won't look at them as full-on humans. They look at giants as the Nephilim. What about, again, extraterrestrials? There are graves and tombs of extraterrestrials everywhere. Egypt itself had one that the KGB infiltrated, and they basically, there are photos and video footage of this thing, and they opened it up, and it was full-on a tall white of sorts. I mean, you're looking at 7-8 feet. And then there was another one another tomb with a smaller one, but had the full royal burial. So we know they're out there.
And they could also, I mean, they clearly work with them. I think the ones at the top clearly know they're in this secret organization that you know, the hidden hand, if you like, in the world. And I think they, again, coming back to what you said before, they have etheric technology. If you look at the internet, it was originally called the Ethernet. So how come does it take the computer I've got for editing on for my work is a super fast computer, but it's not really that fast, because if I try and find something on it, takes a little bit of time. But if I go onto the internet, I get millions of answers to an inquiry in an instant. It gives you the time on it, like a 0.00 of sixth of 1 second.
Right.
And it's like they're using technology that is super fast. So if you look back to the old days, like when I was a kid and I would phone my family in America, for instance, from the UK, there was always a delay, but now it's instantaneous. You've got the likes of Chris Hadfield on the ISS playing music with the Sydney orchestra and someone in LA playing, you know, they're all playing together. And how is that? How can that be instantaneous? Because if I connect, I've put it away, I have one of my big cameras here. If I connect that to a system, there's actually a delay.
Right.
But it's instantaneous when you connect to the internet.
That's true.
Yeah.
But like, so how come there's a delay? You know, if I connect it up to the monitor and I do that, there's a delay. It's like, you know.
Right. And it's a hardwired in besides that.
Exactly. You know,
and it should be the quickest way.
So why is it no longer called the Ethernet?
They still call the cable the Ethernet cable, though, don't they?
And have you noticed how fast it is when you plug the Ethernet in as opposed to the Wi-Fi?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I'm hardwired in with mine.
Yeah, give it a
it's
go.
Like Zoom. Yes.
Yeah, it's so much faster. So, but more than that, they have technology that can. I interviewed Kate Shemirani recently, and she said a strange thing to me. I thought it was a bit crazy, to be honest with you. I've got it on my phone.
Wait, you thought it was crazy?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
She said to me, I don't know if I've got it on my phone now. I'll show you the picture. She said to me that they've got this technology, she said, and it can pick up your thoughts and it can play it back, or, you know, you'll see it on your iPhone. It's not like the ordinary sort of listening to technology. This is something else. Now, I work in television, right? And not so much now. I don't work as much in TV now, right? But last year I worked with some of the big companies and that, you know. Anyway, I was getting rid of my TiVo box, right? And it's got all my TV shows on that I've worked on, I record. And I thought, so I'm in London, and I thought, how am I going to get my TV shows off the TiVo box? And then I never said this to anyone, right? It's only ever existed in here, right? So I thought, I'll Google this. I'll see if I can find out how do you get your TV programs off the TiVo box. You know, do you just take out the hard drive or whatever? You know, it's not that simple, to be honest with you. It's encrypted and that. So all I wrote was, how do I? And that was all I wrote. And it made the rest of the sentence.
You finished your sentence. Yeah.
Let me tell you what it was. Retrieve. I only wrote the R-E and I think the T. As far as I got, didn't get to the full read. How do I R-E-T? Retrieve. Then it made up the rest of the sentence. My recordings from the TiVo box. Now, why isn't it the Skybox or any other box?
Right.
I was on my own on location, and I had that thought.
It's scary.
Say it to anyone. And I'd just done an interview with her earlier on, you know, like about a week before, where she said the same thing, and I thought it was a bit crazy, as say, you know.
But
and there it is. So I got a screenshot of it. Yeah, but, so the listening in the etheric, you see.
But it's
scary because it's happened to me quite often.
And me too.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. I'm just thinking of something and I go into Google because I'm thinking I have to research this, or I have to check out this product before I purchase it, like for bigger purchases. And you just go in and it's right there, or it shows up on Facebook, or it shows up on Instagram.
And I didn't even when it comes from your head. I'll tell you, I once did, you know, in the paranormal field, we do what's called EVPs. Yeah. Right. Electronic voice phenomena. You're doing recordings. And we were just actually recording a session of speaking with a client. This is a lot of years ago. So the person I was with, real whiz, at doing these EVPs, and he goes, I'm just going to reverse it and just see if we pick something up, because you get a lot if you reverse a recording, and they're called reverse EVPs. In doing that, he said the strangest thing happened. He picked up on my thoughts. This recording went onto a cassette tape, because I'm kind of old school. I like things to just can't fudge with. But at the time, my daughter wasn't feeling well, and I said I need to get home to with my daughter's name. It was a nickname, actually. And it was my voice that said, I have to get home to my daughter.
Yeah.
That's right out of my freaking head. How the heck does that happen? It sounds very similar to what you guys are talking about, only going to the web instead of on. So what's the real thing here? Are we powerful enough to put that out there and project that out there?
I think these are just shabby copies. They offer us these types of things.
Right.
But they've got the real stuff.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, and that's how,
much way in advance of what we've got. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been created by a series of bargains, I think, with what we would call generic term of archons. I think there's been some kind of bargain in there in terms of them having access. But they also prey on us as well. They abduct us, don't forget. And they interrogate us and they experiment on us. And I think there's been, instead of our governments defending us and standing up to this intrusion and becoming open about it and saying, look, we are under a threat, but there is a war going on. There is, they've took the bribe, if you like. And that's just my opinion.
They sold out.
Yeah, I would say. So I don't think that you are crazy in any of this. I think the whole etheric thing is instantaneous communication. Like, for instance, my father my parents are Irish, hence the orthodoxy there, and he's from Valencia, and it sounds like Spanish, but it's not. It's off the southwest coast of Ireland, off the County Kerry, and they laid the transatlantic cable there. And they also did some transmissions there to do with Marconi in the original days, because it's the nearest point on the European continent to the United States. And that technology was called ether technology. And they bounced it, they said, off the ionosphere. And I think that a lot of these things, that they've moved so far ahead with their technology that we're still on Wi-Fi and stuff like that. And they're just mocking us to scorn. But when you look at what comes in now from across the Atlantic, the wire is about, like this pen, it's about twice the width of that, carries all the traffic across the Atlantic. Now I know people show you this big cable like that, but when it comes into the station, and I'm talking about, they rerouted it now to actually just up the road from where I live, a town called Southport. It showed you on the BBC that it's a simple, thin thing. They said that is all the traffic that comes from America and Canada across the Atlantic into the UK. And he says, and it may sound extraordinary that it would be that thin, but it carries all that information. I can't tell you where I am, but I'm in Southport. Now, I lived not far from Southport when I was president of Waterloo Spiritualist Church, which is on the coast there, Liverpool. You could only go so far up towards Southport. And there was a military firing range, which I always thought was very strange. And I think that's where it comes in, because you can't traverse the beach. You have to go inland. But it shows you how can that carry that volume of information. Think of that traffic. It's
There's several decades ahead of what they lead us to believe.
And that was the BBC.
Right. Oh, right, for sure. I mean, I think that's why I say when you see a disc in the sky, it's like, wait, is it one of ours? Because I think they've been reverse engineering this easily since the Roswell days and Rendlesham days,
Yeah. And I'm friends with Larry Warren. He was the, the whistleblower on the Rendlesham Forest.
Yes.
Worked with Larry. But in terms of, like when I talking about the Nag Hammadi UFO that led me to do this book.
Yes.
I would say the RAF, Royal Air Force, whoever had sent them out to go after this thing, that you were looking at two different things there. I know we have technology, and I do, that's capable of similar. But in that instance, I would say that was not one of ours, if you know what I mean, because you get a feeling, you see, about it. You see,
Oh, yes.
and they know when you're looking. Now that week, I had a week of intrusions, and it was because I decided to go ahead with the book. Wow. And I'd never had any intrusions, and I was walking. Where I live is on the edge of Liverpool. It's kind of rural and stuff. So I was out walking, and one of these silver orbs, I kid you not, I swear on my family's life, one of these orbs came floating across the field, bright sunlight. And I thought, you're looking at me, and I thought, if I didn't know what I know, I could easily be abducted here, or I could have an experience where I don't remember, sort of thing. But I was well onto it. And I think they were just investigating or kind of trying to get into me in some way. But for some reason, they buzzed me that day. And then the same week, I got my binoculars. I saw this particular light, and I thought, I need to look at this like there's another encounter. And what happened was, when I looked at the light, there's no strobe. It's a light, and it's bright. Got it through the binoculars, very clear. I'm scanning along with this thing. And then suddenly I thought, I'm looking at you. And it went bang, it went out. And it turned into a black ball, like really big. Right. Yeah, but it was still going. You couldn't see it with the naked eye, but I was following the binoculars. It just turned into a big black ball. And I would say that wasn't one of ours either, if you know what I mean.
No, I would say,
it cloaked itself.
Yeah, but they know when you can see them.
But how? I've driven down the road here by the river, and once in a while I'll look up and say, "Where are you?" And I'll see a big bright flash in the sky, and it just shuts off. It doesn't happen every time. I'd be playing the lottery if I could do that, but it's just like hit or miss. But going back to you saying having all these experiences when you started writing this book and researching it, do you think it's because like they're somehow tapping into the collective? I mean, how would they know unless they were already visiting you?
Well, they're anxious to know what I'm writing. They don't want this to come out. And I'm really, honestly, it's really not a sales pitch. I gave it to my niece to read. And I said to her, have a read of this. And, she's kind of on board with it. And she's scared of nothing, And she's the kind who, she's so strong. And she's a lovely looking girl and everything. Don't want to get the wrong impression, but when she cleans under the stove, she lifts it with one hand, and puts it down. She's like, it's like
she's an Amazon Amazonian woman.
She's like, she's
Wonder Woman.
Yeah, nothing scares her. Anyway, she said, after I read that book, or that part of the book, she said one of those things was in the room. She said, it's horrible, isn't it? I said,
so it's the collective thing then. They must be.
Yeah, because she was waking up. She didn't really understand what I was doing. I said, she's saying, let me have a read. I said, look, it's to do with these archons and it's to do with ancient texts. And she said, no, I'm fascinated. Let me have a read. And I said, look, sometimes you get buzzed by these things. And I said, I'm not programming you or tipping you off or anything like that, but other than to just say,
Yeah.
Anyway, she said, wow. She said, like, I wasn't scared, she said, but it's like there was something very strong in the room, really curious about me. And it wasn't a spirit, and it was a collective thing. It was a consciousness that really wanted to know about me. And if you look at, what Whitley Strieber says, if you've read any of his quotes about how they go into the soul, they want to know the very essence of you. And that's
so basically reading your book. Buying your book comes with its own archon.
How do we get that? How do we get a book?
Right.
There you go, people. There you have it, right from the author's mouth.
That's a major selling point.
Right.
Well,
let's get that book up to the camera so we can see the cover.
Everybody wants their own archon.
Now,
absolutely, I do.
But at the same time, I really needed to put that in. What I've said is. They will slowly reveal to you the great secrets. This is the text. But you are warned this may come at a price. The interdimensional powers that have conspired to keep mankind blind and locked in slavery will visit upon you prior to, during, or just after your sleep state. They dread the human being becoming alive to their evil. They exist in a state of fear without of being discovered any minute now. Should you come under their attack, do not fear, because the exalted angel, Elodie, who we mentioned before, reveals to Noria what you should do and what you should say to repel their intrusions in chapter 3, Testament of Noria. So put that in there for what you to say. And I can tell you it does work.
Wow.
It does work.
Wow.
So I did put that in there, and I felt that because my other niece, who's interested in it, she had the same experience, and because of what happened to me when I was reading it, I mean, terrible. It got so bad, and I can take on anything. I'm also a martial artist. Got various black belts and stuff.
That doesn't work against energy, though.
Yeah, but the mindset does.
Yes.
Yeah. That you become unassailable in the etheric as well. But in spite of that, what I'm saying is that it got to the point after about a week where I got in touch with my late mother and said, Mum, I looked after you before you passed away. I'm just asking you to just, over the next 3 nights, please sit in the room with me when I go to sleep and keep them away. And I did. I got a really good night's sleep because my mother would take no crap, you know what I mean? But I was so tired, and they were getting
didn't have any fight in you.
Yeah, so tired. I have a stressful life anyway.
They drain your energy too, which doesn't help.
And all the other conditions conspiring together. And but they've messed with the files and things. My mum and my late sister came to me one night and they said, your computer, your disk has been messed with the stick. Said that it's been hacked, but on the etheric by these archons. Now, when I woke up the next day, I thought, look, it's my mother and my sister. I know my mother and my sister,
Right.
When I'm with them, when I get communication, I know them.
Right.
And sure enough, it was like a bad dream. I plugged the thing in, and the whole book had completely disappeared. And I couldn't find it in the table of contents. I did an archive. I'm pretty good with computers and things. I did a retrieval, recover, couldn't find it. It was like it had never existed on the stick. And I had a backup computer, which wasn't plugged in, which wasn't on. And I found an older version of the book there. And then several days later, the thing reappeared on the stick, but in a corrupted form, which I've retrieved. Now,
that's what I was going to ask you. Did it come up back the same, or was there, was it tampered with?
It was corrupted, and I had to reformat it and virtually line by line.
Crazy.
But they were so scared. And I know it sounds crazy and that, but I would say that, I know what happened. And I had a number of those experiences. And at that moment, I thought, this is getting to me now.
Right.
I can't rewrite this whole thing.
No.
I do back it up and everything else. But, I write constantly, and I back things up about once every 2 weeks or something. But I'd lost the whole project this time. And I had that kind of, that Platoon film where he goes on his knees and goes, no!
That's one of my favorite movies, just saying.
And you got the camera pulling that. It was that sort of moment. But I also knew, because I was told by my mother and my sister and by the spirit world per se, that this was meant to be. It's for a reason. And it did come back, and I did have to work with it again. But it showed me that the extent to which they do not want us to wake up, and they will do it in very, very strong ways. And I can't emphasize that enough. My house, I went to my niece's at Christmas, and this is during when all this is happening. This is Christmas gone. Came home, spent all day at the Christmas having dinner and stuff, I came home and I thought, I need to change the light bulbs. They're very dark. And put the lights on. I thought, these bulbs are taking a while to light up. Went to the kitchen, fluorescent. Thought, wow, that's really dull. And then it hit me. This is the shadow over the house.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I realized that being away, from the house and writing this stuff, getting it together.
That there was actually a shadow over the house.
Massively, yeah.
Right.
If ever we get, I've got other books to come out, but I don't want to tell you another story that happened.
No, because we'll have you back on when you continue this tale.
But as part of that intrusion,
right.
I realized just by incrementally how dark the house had gone. So I did that, I did my spiritual thing, and I said, hang on a minute, this has got to stop. I listened to what El Elite said, look, and I followed what it says, what tells you in the book. And it lifted straight away, but it creeps up. So there you go.
ET experiencers often talk about the house becoming very, very dark.
Yeah.
That's to me is bloody like frightening. I'll be honest. That's
it's your perception, isn't it? It's like, I would say that if you had a light meter, it'd probably say it's okay, that you're getting all the light, but it's just your psychic eye is like, wow, this is really dark. This is really, I wasn't ready for that. I admit it, for all my years of experience.
You're an author, you're writing a book. I don't think it's the first thing on your mind is that you're going to be monitored or visited by these things that you are writing about. But I guess, again, it comes down to mindset. When you are reading about them or about any of these types of energies, they tap into the consciousness. They're telepathic beings, but I think it's fantastic either way. But we are at the top of the hour, and I hate to do it because I know we're past too, but that's okay because we're just having so much fun. But thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
As you continue on, I would love to know more, and I know we would love to have you back on.
Thanks.
And here we go. There we go.
Oh yeah,
yes,
sir. Kevin, you are well versed. I will bet it reflects well in your writing. I'm looking forward to reading that book.
Yes, so
even more.
Thanks.
But thank you. I will be in touch with you. Thank you for joining us. And I guess now you can go and sleep.
Yeah. My meds are starting to work.
Good.
Yeah.
I wonder if we're on the same stuff because I need it too to sleep.
All right.
It's been fantastic. And thank you so much. And this is the launch of the book, by the way.
Yay.
Please
show us the cover again, Kevin. Please show us.
Tell everybody how to
get it.
It's available at the moment on Amazon as a Kindle and also as a paperback. It'll be available in shops next week, and there'll be an audiobook eventually as well in about another 2 weeks. So they'll be on all formats.
And how can people find you?
I'm on Facebook as Kevin O'Doherty.
Okay.
And I'm also on Instagram under the same name, Kevin Dermot O'Doherty, which is this name here. People can see. I know people listen on radio.
Got it. Yeah.
And I'm also on Twitter as well.
Okay.
I think that's probably about it, really.
Okay.
But yeah, you can find me, and there's a page on Facebook called "The Secret of the Egyptian Nag Hammadi" that I've set up. So.
All right,
they can join that.
We will seek it out. So thank you very much, and you'll wake up to an email tomorrow.
Thank you, Amelia and Michelle. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's been such an honor. Thank you so much. I've learned so much. Thank you for sharing.
Good night, Neil.
You too. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, that was so bloody informative. My gosh. Craziness, but thank you, big thank you to Kevin. That was again just enlightening to say the least. Big thank you to our sponsors, Folgers Coffee and Justin Snicker, Dr. Snick. If you guys want to shoot us an email, please, the outer realm contact @gmail.com. Only if you like what you hear. Wherever you're listening, like us up, follow us, or subscribe. We're very appreciative. Now, next week, all new people. So Wednesday night, we welcome Barry Fitzgerald and Brian Allen. Also from the UK, I know you guys will know them. They're going to be discussing their new book, The Deception of Gods and Men. Thursday night, for the very first time as well, Charles Lear, and he's going to be discussing his book called The Flying Saucer Investigators. So holy crud, sounds like amazing. Tomorrow night, tune in 8 until 10 p.m. Eastern for the Church of Mavis. And of course, Essentialists coming in at 10 to midnight Eastern. I have to say Eastern. So check them out, and thank you for joining us tonight. You guys have all been great. Love to see you in chat. And for new faces in here, right here, Abdullah. Thank you. Hope I said that right. But thank you. Everybody have a great weekend. We'll see you next week. Good night.